Hi, I'm Eloy and this is Escajedo Woodworking. In this episode we're going to make a box chest for my comic books.
So it was 1984, and the movies out were Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop, Gremlins, The Karate Kid, and Romancing the Stone. The music, the albums out, were Van Halen's 1984, Bon Jovi, Fistful of Metal by Anthrax, Run DMC, and Rats Out of the Cellar. It was the year that the Metro Rail began operation, and Miami Vice was on TV for the first time. I was 9 years old back then. Sweetwater was a relatively small city on the edge of the Everglades. In those days, traffic was not congested. Kids of the day would play ball in the street, skateboard, ride their bikes without a problem. In fact, on the weekends, people would ride their horses down the street. I remember my folks calling me outside to watch them gallop by my house. It was in those days that I would explore the streets on bike, sometimes with friends and sometimes on my own. I was riding bike on Flagler Street and around 112th, I want to say. There was a 7-Eleven there. I remember stopping in and coming across a comic book rack. I saw a Flash comic book and some others. I'm not sure, but I think that they were G.I. Joe and Daredevil, so I bought those with some change I had. It was the beginning of my love of comic books. As the years went by, my collection got really extensive. There was a comic book store on Bird Road in front of Tropical Park. It was called Sunshine Comics. My father would drive me on Sundays, and I would pick up the latest issues. Most of the time, he would sit and wait for me in the car listening to talk radio and smoking cigarettes. I had a small tight band of friends in those days, and we all collected and also played D&D. Those were great times to be a kid. Now, as the years went by, boys get interested in other things like girls, and as I grew, the comics stayed in their plastic bags and backing boards. I reached for those comics less and less. I also went from reading comics to books. In my 20s, I moved to LA. I took the precaution of wrapping my comics in large bags. My father had me store them in the shed outside. They had bags and boards, plus they were wrapped in trash bags. I thought that would be fine. So when I returned from LA, there had been a massive tropical storm. There was flooding in Sweetwater. In fact, the flooding was so bad, it entered many homes there, my home included. The water reached the furniture inside and soaked up onto the drywall. It was a disaster. And my comics in the shed outside, they were ruined. I managed to save a few comics out of nostalgia, but hundreds of books were gone. It was a great loss. A few years back, I had an accident on the bandsaw. I cut the tip of my middle finger off. I was working too hard and was way too tired. It was terrible. I took the piece of finger with me to the doctor and he reattached it. It took about 6 months, I believe, but it actually healed. I have a small dent on the top side of my finger. Can't really tell, other than I have no feeling in it. It was during this time that I started collecting comics again. I could not work because of the injury, and I happened on a new comic store that opened up on 107th Avenue and Southwest 8th Street. It's called Porca Comics. All this coincided with the Marvel Comics event, Secret Wars. So collecting, again, eased the depression over my injury and got me thinking about the old days as well. I've recovered from the accident and I'm back woodworking, creating pieces for clients, and have revisited some wonderful memories too. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Escajedo Woodworking. Like and subscribe.
My name is Eloy. I live in Florida. I built my patio from scratch from the ground up. It's been 3 or 4 years since I created this. Since then, the furniture has shown signs of damage. In Florida, we get heavy sun just about all year. When there's no sun, then it's heavy rain. There's a lot of punishment on furniture and everything outside. So I feel it's time to make repairs before the patio furniture is beyond salvation. I start with removal of boards that I can see signs of damage on. The rot is very evident. I was hoping to remove the damaged boards in one go, but it's not working out that way. The front skirt did come off in one piece though. I was hoping to do the patchwork on the boards, just replacing sections halfway down the seat planks. So I'm using the circular saw to try that. At this point, I'm thinking I can get away with replacing only the damaged board sections. Now that I'm pulling the back seat boards, I'm starting to notice there's a lot of rot damage to the structure. I'm starting to think that this is going to be a bigger job than I expected. I'm now going to replace all the boards. I was wishful that I could fix them in sections. But that's not going to work. This is a lot of damage. We're going to have a bit of work ahead. I'll remove the damaged boards so I can have a clean area to work with. And pick up the mess and toss it in a heavy trash bag. Let's bust out the saw. I have damage to the privacy back support. It's rotted between the seat and base, so it's not giving the support it needs. I need to cut through all the screws, so I'll tear out the vertical support and add a new one. I have more screws on the bottom here, so I'm working on those now. Once the support was removed, I'm painting the exposed wood to protect it from the elements. I'll paint the new boards with the outdoor paint I bought at the home center. I took a sample piece of wood so they could match the color. The color ended up a bit darker than the original, but it's close at least in tone. Plus I picked semi-gloss this time. I think it will protect the wood more because of the sheen. This is the back support 2x4 that will stabilize the structure. Now I have to measure and cut new 2x4s and recreate the frame. I'll cut the pieces to size and test fit.
This afternoon
Let's remove the remaining boards.
We want to put a particular guy just got a mechanic's garage. He's fixing cars. He's got 5 employees.
I keep finding more rot damage to the frame.
You're not concerned. You're probably paying too much.
The backrest on the furniture has an incline. I managed to get a full piece off without breaking, so I'll use it as a template to cut new pieces. So I'm drilling holes so I can attach the backboards to the vertical support. I don't want the wood to crack or split, so it's a good idea to do it this way. Now we'll assemble the base frame for the seat section. And we'll brace the seat frame to the back support. The screws that connect this seat frame are solid. I don't want to tear this one apart, so I'll cut out the rotted part. So I'm adding extra 2x4s and rebuilding it in this manner. I'll build up this end area the same way. Though there's rot, it's pretty solid, plus the screws that I would need to remove are not going anywhere. So let's add screws and secure the new seat frame. Dry testing the seat boards to see if it all fits right. This section of the back is rotted, but I don't want to remove the whole board, so I'll add a patch to it. This piece will have a long bolt running through it, and it will brace the furniture to the metal post I have. It'll give the patio furniture more stability. This is how it fits. And we'll fasten now. It's coming along. Let's add the seat boards. Now I'll paint my restored patio furniture and wrap up the project. Check out the finished results. I'll leave links in the description for the tools I used on this project. Subscribe for more videos, and catch you next time. My front door is really beat. It needs some love and attention. It has stood with the same finish since 1984. I want to give it a new, fresh look. So, it's really a three-part process to refinish a door: sand, stain, and seal. I'll leave links to the tools I use below. We'll use this Black & Decker sander first. I want to remove that cracked and weathered finish off, so I'll use 80 grit on this. This sanding is going to take the longest. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but you can't get good results without putting in effort. That's just a rule of life I've found. At least that's how it's always worked for me. Check out how smooth and clean the wood is underneath. In the 80s, my folks built a small studio on our lot. That's this place I'm working on now. My grandparents were living in Little Havana. That's Miami, by the way. They were living in Little Havana back since the 60s. But my folks met back then and got married and bought a home out here in Sweetwater. That was around 70 or 71. They were able to do that since my dad had been in the Army. They got that low-rate loan. The door's cleaning up, sanding really good. There's some patches though. I can't believe this varnish has lasted so long. We're talking 30 plus years. Amazing. Anyhow, back in the late 70s, early 80s, my folks started to plan the building of this studio. The idea was to have my grandparents live here for their golden years. That's just how it happened. I spent many great years having my family together in one spot. That's why this place means so much to me. Not so much the surroundings and people, but because of the ones that came before me. I'm getting a bit tired of the Black & Decker. I want to remove more material quicker, so I'm trying out the belt sander. It's a bit heavy. Still, I'll use this a bit more and get rid of as much varnish as I can. So I decided to use paint stripper. The stuff is nasty, but it really helps. I brushed it on and let it sit a bit. Right before it dries, I use a spatula to remove the old top coat. It comes off like a layer of skin. Mind you, this stuff is nasty, so use protection. You can see it's removed a lot of the varnish from the hard-to-get-to areas. Here's my Dremel oscillating tool. I still have a lot of nooks that need sanding. It is what it is. Again, if you take on this project, the sanding and stripping of old material will be the most time-consuming part. So my grandfather was born in Spain, on my dad's side. He always used to tell me stories. He was very much a storyteller. He was a kind man and polite. Lots of great memories. My grandmother was born in Cuba and descended from Italians and Spaniards. Let's blow off all the dust. So the door is looking really nice at this point. Let's hand sand a bit. I can see a lot of little spots that need elbow. I have a lot of outdoor work to do. Not to mention work inside. But I'm working on it. I have no choice but to take it one at a time. I mean, I'd like for everything to be as it should, but this is life. You know what I mean. If you don't, you will. Let's keep sanding. I'll do the casing too. Now I'll take care of the edges of the door. I did most of my sanding with the door closed. I didn't want to remove the door, and I didn't want all that dust inside. In this case, I'm getting a bit of dust, but it's worth doing it this way for me. So I'll start applying the stain now. It's a dark walnut, and I'll tell you, it's looking really nice. I'll be honest, I don't know what the door is made of. It has a reddish look to it. But anyways, it's taking the dark stain really nice. This is gonna look new. I'm really liking the color. So we'll do all the nooks now. The really tight squares are a pain to get to, so I'll just brush the stain and then wipe off with a rag. I'll do the trim and door jamb while we're at it. I did have moments of weakness, though. I almost said, okay, I'll leave the trim for another day, but I forced myself to power through. All the sanding really got me tired of this project. But no pain, no gain. Just do what you gotta do, it's better that way. Let's clean this mess on the floor. I'll use some WD-40 and the stain will come off. It's a great little trick. You can even get a great shine on stainless sinks. That's an old punch-out trick. So here's the finished door. I'm really happy how it turned out. I gave it a semi-gloss clear coat, the Helmsman spar urethane. I still need a second coat, but I think we're good and you get the picture. I hope you got some ideas from this project. Links to the tools and stuff are below. Subscribe and catch you next time.
I was cutting some trees down on my property. I decided to save some of the trunks. They're not too thick, so I thought I'd use them to make some walking sticks or something. It got me to thinking about my father's hand axe. I looked around and found it in the shed. I'm gonna clean it up and make a leather sheath for it. My dad's not with us anymore. I think about him every day. I realize everything that makes me who I am, I owe to him. Of course, I have branched off, but the starting point always has its roots in the lessons my father instilled in me. In 1970 or 71, my folks bought the property I now own and maintain. Since then, a city has grown up around this place. Our homestead was built in 1948. It used to be that this town was on the outskirts of Miami. Not the case anymore. My father had many tools and would work around the house and property. When things needed fixing, as opposed to calling someone in, he'd do it himself. He'd always call me to his side and would have me help him out. At the time, I really just wanted to play G.I. Joes and ride my bike. 30 years of lessons, even though I didn't care at the time, did shape me and imprint itself in my mind, which has come to serve me well. As far as I've been able to gather, this is a Fuller number 16 hand axe, and it's drop forged. I've dated it to the 1970s. We had all sorts of trees here growing up. Avocado, mango, banana, lime, and many more. This little axe has seen a good amount of work around here. It may not be the best axe in the world, not the most expensive, but for me, it's a connection to my father and the life I had when times were so much simpler. I miss you every day, Dad.
Primitive candle holder.
So I hit the camera with the propane torch and all the footage was lost of me torching the actual project. So I got a little piece here and I'll show you what I did and then we'll return. And that's it. I'm Eloy, and in this video we're going to make a shabby chic scones. orcs, they are marching to war. The mountains will crumble, the city will rumble in fear. Prepare for war, 'cause the orcs, they are here.
Storm the gates! Storm the gates!
Bodies dead in a field of war. Blood seeping into the ground. Gondor has fallen. I wanted to make my aunt a birthday gift. The idea that came to me was a glass box, minimal wood just to frame the panes. So I started off cutting the first and second pieces. When I went to make the next glass cut, it broke. I only had one pane I had salvaged from the trash, and then I didn't have enough for the glass box. So I changed it into a wood and glass box, till I broke another piece. So I tossed that idea and came with the steampunk lamp. The only parts I didn't have on hand were a vintage bulb and a toggle switch. Oh, and a cord. So I got those at Home Depot. When I was in private school, my aunt would drive me in the mornings. The bus would bring me back in the afternoon. She always tells me how I was a curious child. I would always ask her questions on our drive, non-stop. If we passed the cemetery, for example, I'd ask, "Why do people die?" And so on. She said it was too heavy for a drive. You could imagine. So she always took me places, to the movies, to the beach, and on vacation to Disney World too. I can remember my aunt giving me gifts for Christmas. She gave me a Mork doll from Mork and Mindy, books, and a writing desk, my first one. As a child, I always felt loved. I even got into Simon and Garfunkel because of her. The family went on a trip to Sanibel Island one summer. She put in a cassette tape of Graceland by Paul Simon. The last track blew me away. It was with Blacksmith Mambazo. I asked if she could play it again, and when it was done, I asked her to play it again. I get obsessed with something I like and I wear it out. I enjoy this type of project. You can really break from the norm and be creative in a different kind of way. I hope you liked it. If you're new and have not checked out my other videos, consider checking them out. I do handyman work but also do commissioned furniture for customers. In between all that, I create projects I'm interested in. I have videos of builds like a farmhouse table, Lord of the Ring axe, comic book chest/box, a skull chair, and secret compartment furniture, to name a few. Subscribe, like, and comment. This is Escajedo Woodworking. Let me show you what I'm working on, guys. So I've got this box here and pine, and you'll notice the wooden hinges. So I've got this. I also have this dowel stuck in the front there, and I'm gonna make some sort of clasp / latch for the front, and we're gonna distress it and make something out of it. So these Forstner bits are from Harbor Freight. It's a great set. I think it's like 30 something bucks. We're gonna start off by making some sort of latch. Take this bit, do some sort of crazy thing here, and then later revise it, make it look decent. We'll see what happens. So we'll take a little stop block so we don't ruin the bench, and we'll just drill this off the bat. So now we've got our hole, and we'll cut out around it and then shape it and see how that looks on the box. We'll cut this out now. That looks pretty weird, but we'll shape it. Hopefully I've done these before, but you know, since you're working just from imagination, instinct, you never know what you're gonna get. So this will be cut shorter, and this will fit up in there, and it'll do this type of operation with another piece on here. You go plank and hold on to it. Then we glue everything up, but we're just setting this up. I call this guy the shocker because the static buildup always gets you in the hands no matter what you do. Here, you get shocked. Over here you don't, but it is what it is. Here's the dowel. Goes in there.
And here's our latch. And it just slides up in there. I'll cut the excess later on, but that's how it works. I'm also going to distress this box and torch it and make it nice and rustic. But now we need a secondary part here for the latch for it to catch and hold. So we'll go ahead and do that. So I came up with this. Very rough, right? But this is, again, rustic. That's the beauty of it. Adding details with cuts and gouges makes it even more interesting. But let's see what happens here. We're going to cut this out. One, two.
No,
Finger. No, finger. I'm going to set the pace as I start. Alright, so that's the top. I put this back on, but you can see all the damage that I created with the grinder, texturing the box. And now we'll go and torch it. The crap out of that. Decided to off camera do the inside, and I should have done the burning beforehand, but I got ahead of myself and got all excited with the next step. So inside is burned. And I'm going to have to do the clear coat and all that. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and clear coat and continue on with the next step. Do that with a little bit of glue. You don't have to be excessive because, and I actually was kind of, so it's going to spill out, but if you stick this in, it'll actually push the glue around the dowel out. And it wasn't that bad, actually. Beautiful. I'm so digging this box. Let me know what you think about this box, and check out my other video. I just released a skull video, so you check those out too. I'm gonna keep working, but I'll catch you guys later on. I'm Eloy, and my website is rockinwoodworks.com. Today I'll show you how to make a wooden patio sign on the scroll saw with raised letters. I'll have patterns available on my website that you can easily print out, cut on your scroll saw, and make your own. I'll also have this man cave sign available there too. Let's start the project. We have the sign cut in this fun rustic shape that comes with the pattern. I'm going to torch it all along the edges. You can opt for that or not. I kind of like adding that little extra touch to the sign though. There it is. When clear coated, it makes the burnt edges really pop. I'm cutting out a section of this board It'll be used to tape the letters on. Let's just cut this out right now. I attached the printout of the letters to the board using tape. Now we can move on to the next step. So here's the template letters we need to cut out. Let's start scrolling. You can also pre-drill holes and feed the blade through the inside cuts, if you like. For me, I'll cut the letters in half and then glue them back together. So now with our letters cut out, I'll remove all the tape and get them ready for the next step. The patio letters are looking sweet. Let's glue the letters I cut in half back together. I just dab a bit of wood glue where the letters connect, then I squeeze them together, set them down and let them dry. You can cut your letters out with the lumber that you'd like. I want my letters raised, but not as much as they are, so I'll do a little resawing on the scroll saw. This way I'll have two sets of letters. We can make two signs. And again, it's just the board I had at this moment, so why not get more out of it? So I'll sit in my office in the cool AC and paint the edges of the letters. You can use spray paint or even experiment with staining the letters as well. The options are really endless, but I'm going with paint. Let's add glue to the back of the letters and set them in place. I'll pencil mark 2 points where I want to drill holes. These will be used to run a leather string through for hanging. You can also use picture frame hardware as an option. I'm going for the leather rope and make it nice and rustic. So I'll feed the leather lace through the holes I drilled and tie them up. Here's our patio sign made with a scroll saw. You can find the pattern plans to this and the man cave sign on my website, rockinwoodworks.com. For those of you that want the patio sign or the man cave sign made by me, I have them for sale in my shop on Etsy. All the links are in the description. Catch you next time. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to follow my story. DIY coffee table, surreal furniture. I made a coffee table in the shape of a bowl. It's inspired by the works of Salvador Dali and Picasso. Though I feel grounded by traditional works that link us to the past, I also like the awkward and uncomfortable art of surrealism. By stretching the bounds of what's normal or acceptable, you get a new look at things. It helps spark creativity, or at the very least the possibility for new directions in your work. Progress always seems to be made when you push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Let me show you how I made this coffee table. I printed out a 2-scale shape of the bowl I wanted to make the body out of. There were a lot of papers to stitch together, so I used tape as I matched the pieces of the paper puzzle and stuck them together. This took me a while. After the bowl shape was ready, I cut the waste out with scissors. This full sheet of ply is a leftover from the wood I rescued off the street. I've made a lot of projects from that reclaimed wood. You can check those videos out here on my channel too. I made a tall-backed chair with piano keys for the seat, a table in the shape of a tree, and a very cool-looking rustic chair. I'll leave a link to those videos in the description. So I placed a bowl-shaped template on a sheet of ply and stuck it to the wood with tape. I traced the shape with a pen marker, pulled off the template and had my shape traced onto the sheet. Next, I used a jigsaw to cut out the bowl shape. This is going to be the legs and body of the coffee table. I did this 2 times. One of the bowl bodies were a bit larger, so I flush trimmed them with the router table to make both pieces equal. I sanded down the 2 bowl sides a bit. I then took some black gloss paint and painted the soon-to-be table base. I'm going to make a very simple, minimalist box for the coffee table, so I'm measuring it out. I took it to the table saw to cut it to size. And now I have all the sides for the box. I can glue it up. I tacked it with pin nails and left it to dry. Next, I painted the outside of the box in black. And to add some color interest, I painted the inside of the box green. Once everything was dry, I placed the box where I wanted it to sit and masked it off. I'm going to be cutting out this part of the bowl so that the top box can fit. I'm drilling where the screws will go that hold the piece together. I'll countersink the holes too. These dowels will be used as cross members. I'll assemble the piece now. Once assembled, I applied a bead of glue. I slid the box in and left it to dry. My surreal coffee table is ready. Check out the finished piece. Subscribe, like, and comment. Escajedo Woodworking.
Hi, I'm Eloy, and this is Escajedo Woodworking. In this episode, we're going to make a box chest for my comic books.
So it was 1984, and the movie's out where Ghost.
Hey guys. Let me go over here to YouTube to see. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm test running this live stream with multiple videos, but this is just a short test run, like a live, broadcast, like you'd see, on TV. And so just showing all my, or not all my videos, but a few select ones. I tested it out a long while back. Let me see if I can change cameras to the better camera, the new camera.